We are back. The trading triangle is here. The trading line, I think we called it last time. Welcome, Kay. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great, Sean. Hey, it's good to be back. It's been a while. We were away for the summer, and I'm happy that we are back. We're picking this back up, and let's get this rolling.
Absolutely, yeah. No, it's good to be back. Obviously, what we say here is obviously not fun. It's not financial advice. Just a bit of fun. Just a couple of guys on the internet talking about stocks, looking at charts. That's what we love to do. So yeah, let's jump into that. I'm trying to figure out what I'm doing here. Here we go. Pop that up. And get that sorted. So here we go. Let's have a look at the market overview for last week actually. So obviously the performance. Wow, I mean, there's one that pops off the page there. Do you want to point it out there, Kay?
Yeah, it's the one at the bottom right hand side for you in the consumer durable double digit.
Yeah, that's the one. So that's Tesla. 26%, a massive 26% for the week. Obviously, we've got the delivery news as well. I think on the 2nd of July, I believe it was, on the Tuesday, which obviously pushed the stock up higher. And that we love to see it. I mean, my net worth, significant increase, and that's what we like to see. That's why we invest. Other names on there, I mean, you can see that AVGO did pretty well. Obviously, related to obviously Nancy Pelosi, I think, added to the portfolio. So that got a little bit of a kick up the bum. Anything else that you see on the page, okay?
No, I think in general, I think the tech did very well. Last week, you can see most of the stocks were up. AVGO also is coming. The split is coming. I believe 7th was the last day, or I think Monday. Folks who have AVGO will have. I bet it's 10 stocks for or 7 stocks for their each stock they hold. I'm not sure how many, but in general, it was pretty good week for Nasdaq.
Absolutely, yeah. We'll jump into the charts in just a second. But I think first up we have the fear and greed index. Obviously, we're still sitting in neutral, which is quite surprising, at least in my opinion, because obviously the market's gone up quite considerably in the last couple of months, and we're just kind of still neutral. It just doesn't really make sense to me. But you've also got the kind of smaller cap stocks, also kind of trading a little bit lower, not so much, trading with the Magnificent Seven or whatever they're called these days. So yeah, a little bit of work to be done for the smaller caps. Obviously, we've got CPI as well. I think on Thursday, I think it's the 11th. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think also we were almost off for a week, 4 weeks, I would say, since we
Yeah,
last did this live. And while I was updating the deck, I did realize our fear and greed index for last 4 weeks was about 45, which is also in the neutral category. So we haven't really moved much. But if you take a look at the numbers for SPY and QQQ, they continue to make all-time highs every single week. Just like a couple months ago, we were talking about SPY being at the 500 level, breaking that psychological level, and now you're looking at 554. And the same thing can be said about QQQ. You're almost looking at the psychological level of 500 for
mm.
QQQ. So great. But again, on the IWM, it's still hanging out around the $200 level.
Yeah. Just can't get a move on, can it? It's
Yep.
pretty static. Do we get a small cap summer? I think a few people have been calling that one out, and yeah, I hope so. I think, of course, why not? But yeah, you can see the psychological levels for SPY and QQQ. I mean, 550. I mean, who thought that at the beginning of the year? I think our predictions were there about 510, 515, I think.
Yeah, I think
Back in
it blew past
February.
all three of our projections
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
Yep.
It could always come back down though, okay, can't it? So we'll see what happens there. Moving on, we will click on here. Here we go. So upcoming earnings this week. Earnings season is upon us. Starts on Friday with the banks, of course. Got a few throughout the week. Any that catch your eye here, okay?
No, no, not anything specific.
Yeah.
You have the Delta, Pepsi, typical your bank, City, Wells. Basically, it kicks off the cycle, and then once they are done next week, we'll probably see some more banks reporting earnings the following week, and then we will start getting into the tech, basically Tesla, Netflix, all those, and Max Seven.
Yeah, just round the corner. Earnings season is kicking off once again. Hello to all of you. Wojciech, Bad Engineer, great name, and Keith Smiling. Yeah, thank you for watching, of course. Keep the comments rolling in. Of course, we've got the audience requests after our individual stocks. So obviously be sure to stick in your stocks in the comment section so we can pick them up. I think Kay's writing them down. That's his job. He's got that going. So
Yeah.
we can go through them at the end. Probably 20, 30 minutes or so, something like that. Anyway, let's move on to the next one, which is the SPY chart. Shall I kick it off, Kay?
No, I guess you do the honors here
Yeah.
because for me, I just don't know. It's just going, making all time high every single time, and especially the last three bars that I'm seeing on this one are very bullish,
Very.
considering the fear and greed is still into the neutral category, like
And going into CPI, sometimes
going into.
normally with CPI it kind of travels flat, or a bit more choppy at least. So yeah, really three really good looking candles. But I think we can see the white line kind of coming through the screen there. It looks
Mhm.
pretty good. Is obviously the trend is your friend, and the only thing I'd be looking for, in the coming probably weeks or so, maybe a couple of months, is to see if that trend actually breaks. And that's where I probably look to maybe short the market. I know I said it, short the market, but then you can see the spot that I'm looking at here is around. Oh, I can use a mouse, fantastic. The spot I can use here is the 537 level with the blue line, and that might the 50 moving average might just come up and meet that at the same sort of time. So it'd be a nice little kind of take profit zone, or even obviously if you didn't want to short the market, I get it. Some people don't really have that mindset. Prefer to go long, of course. Waiting for that kind of the stock to kind of come down to that level to kind of buy at 537, and that would be another opportunity as well for SPY.
Mhm. So
Yeah.
from my perspective, I think that if you are a long-term investor and you invest in SPY and QQQ, I think the best course of action at this point in time is to just dollar cost average, whatever frequency you want to choose. If you are, of course, going to be trading, then I would, of course, wait for this pullback here. Those levels that you talked about, 533 is what I'm actually looking. There is a small, gap that I see over there between 533 and 537. So
Mm.
that's where I might, get into for a trade. But again, as you said, the trend is your friend. We continue, until the trend changes.
Yeah, and that level I've drawn there is actually a gap fill as well. So
Perfect.
similar sort of
Yep.
thing. There's a few gaps down there, isn't there? But yeah, SPY, interesting. It will continue to power higher, no doubt. Okay, so QQQ is next up on the screen. We've got exactly the same chart, pretty much. Probably
Yeah.
not too much more to add. Trend is your friend. Above all the moving averages, very solid candles in recent trading days, and it's looking good for long term investors at this point in time.
Absolutely. I agree with the sentiment. And with the earning season upon us, especially, the Max 7 reporting earnings, again, either it will give us the more fuel to go higher, or we will see some kind of a correction or a pullback, which I guess is not bad. It's healthy for the markets to do that.
It'd be interesting to see which direction it takes for sure. Definitely. I mean, the last earnings season was quite interesting. Obviously, you had the Mag Seven doing pretty well, but all the kind of mid caps, smaller caps, they were doing well. I mean, Square, for example, they were doing well, and the stock would just plummet or just go down. It would go up immediately and then come straight back down. It was a strange earnings season because you can see the progress that the stocks are making, but the stock price action just wasn't really following it. I don't know
Yeah.
if you saw that, Kay.
That is true. And also in the SaaS space, we saw a lot of weakness. We saw weaknesses also in companies like Starbucks, Nike, Lululemon, and we are covering one of those stocks today. So in general, I think most of the work that has been done is done by stocks in the Max 7, plus Nvidia, plus the Broadcoms of the world, plus the SMCIs of the world. That's where most of the gains have come in, at least in the first half of the year. So we see if this continues further, because I think some of those targets that we have for the end of the year are above 6,000 for S&P 500.
Oh,
And if it is supposed to if it's going to hit that level, you will see Max 7 playing a role, because I don't see how small caps are going to take you there without the help of Max 7.
absolutely. I mean, they take up the majority of the pie, so to speak, don't they? So, be interesting to see if that continues. Should we jump into some stocks?
Yeah, let's do that.
Should we go? First up, obviously, we've got the Tesla. I
Mhm.
felt a bit weird not bringing this one up this week. There's a little bit of a messy screen. I'm actually going to look over here because it's a little bit bigger. A little bit of a messy screen, but you can see down here in the bottom left, immediately the monthly chart really jumps out. We've been in this very, very long wedge. I think it goes back to 2021-ish. So we've been in this long wedge and just poking out of that. Now, of course, in general kind of trading terms, you have to have that wick complete, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you need to wait to the end of the month in terms of entering this trade to go higher, at least on a longer term basis. That's how I kind of think about things anyway. But obviously, it always has time to kind of pull back down, in which case the wedge would still be intact. So, expected to kind of go back down to the bottom of the wedge at some point. So just be careful if you're kind of looking. I mean, Tesla's always a funny one to talk about, isn't it, in terms of trading? But yeah, just be careful around the entry points if you are going to go, more to the long side. Anyway, moving on to the daily chart, you can see on the right side here we've got a bit of a channel that I've drawn. Not the most perfect channel, but it's the channel that I've drawn that hits the most spots, should we say? So we've got a few touches around here at the top. At the 265 level, and on the bottom side of things, we've got 229. And you can see it just blasted straight through into that channel last week. So I've been looking for it to kind of maybe calm down a bit, come back down to 229, and then kind of had that retest on the trend line, and also obviously the retest of the 229 level from previous trading, from weeks, months, etc. So yeah, kind of playing between these lines, and if it can get up to 265, I'll be taking a little bit more off the table just because of the extended move, just because of the nature of it. I'm a trader at the end of the day. So yeah, that's kind of how I think about things. The last point I want to make, and I'll hand it over to you, Kay, is the circle down here. Really big volume last week, really big volume. It's exciting to see that people are kind of getting into Tesla again, kind of trading it actively and obviously buying it generally.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think for Tesla right now, there are two events that are going to happen. One is, of course, the earnings that comes up, I think, in third week of July or the last week of July. And then you have the big event 8/8 where they reveal the robotaxi. So there's only two ways Tesla could play. Either one, we get the buy the rumor, sell the news situation where we get a pullback, or it builds on that news further and blasts off closer to the 300 level that it used to be long time back. So at this point in time, I think if you were not in Tesla when it was trading in this range of 170 to 190, I think don't chase it. And if it's in a long term investing style, dollar cost average, I guess that's the best way to put it. And we did get two requests. We have IWM and SOFI. So I know SOFI you're going to cover as the next,
Yeah.
but we will cover IWM right after during the audience request section.
Awesome. Yeah, keep noting them down. Okay, keep noting them down. Speaking of SoFi, should we move on to SoFi? We covered
Yes,
Tesla
please.
nicely. Let's
Yep.
move on to SoFi. We can see on the screen here. I don't know if I can make this slightly bigger so you can. Yeah, let's do that. Just do this one for SoFi. We've got on the bottom left side here. We've got the kind of general fundamentals kind of happening around SoFi. I just want you to kind of make an observation here. Kind of, you can see that everything's kind of going up. Shall we say? Obviously, net income positive for the last 2 quarters, products higher, members higher, revenue segments higher, the list goes on. But you can see on the right side of the screen, the stock is not doing that. It's going downwards. Now, obviously, it's not always meant to match up, but it does present an opportunity, at least in my eyes. Now, going back to the chart, we can see, if you can follow my mouse here, yeah, we can see a succession of higher lows kind of forming. I know this one's just outside of the wedge, and this wedge goes back for quite some time. But we've got some higher lows, and the nature of the candles is exciting for me. Obviously, we've got to wait for a move to come out of the trend line, but the nature of these candles is it's really large lower wick, if that makes sense. So that means that the stock has come all the way down, and then people have bought it all the way back up, and it's finished here, which means people are excited about the stock and potentially looking at buying options. Now, I'm thinking with the RSI, I don't have it on the screen here because it doesn't really match up, but I would have liked to see an RSI divergence at some point. But that's not quite the case with the stocks, which is why obviously I didn't put it on here. Quite simply, I'll wrap it up with this one, which is kind of entry above the kind of the trend line. We've got to break above it and stay above it. And then obviously a simple move back up to kind of 735 is what I have on the screen. Lots of different people have different levels. If you do have different levels, stick them in the comments. But for me, it's 735, and that represents a 13.5% move, which sounds like a lot, but it's not really these days, is it? Anyway, Kay, what are your thoughts on SoFi? I know you have a lot to say about them.
So with SoFi, I'm already in a trade with SoFi, and the options trade that I was currently in is a $7 put. So I sold a put for $7, and right now, of course, it's in negative, right? The trade is, But the idea is that we are finding that the stock is in this range of, I would say, 620 to 654 is where basically bar coding. So the next resistance level is of course going to be your the 20-day moving average, which is 662. So the next, uh, I would say, the catalyst that we can think of that will come will be on the earnings call, which will be 7:30. So we could see a build up, either going to earnings or post earnings. We could see that either a gap up or a gap down, and depending upon how the news builds up. Because at this point of time, fundamentals and stock price are definitely misaligned because they have
Mm.
done pretty well as a company, as a stock, as a company. And I'm looking forward to keeping my $7 level still there. And in case we see a gap down, I'll probably roll those contracts out further to
Yeah,
not.
you mentioned obviously the earnings coming up on the last week of July, I think you said.
Mm,
It's another opportunity for these charts to extend even higher, so the members to get bigger, net income to get bigger. So it's another kind of well, I don't know what the word is, but a confirmation that the company's moving in the right direction.
yep.
But obviously the stock is not so much doing that. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens on the earnings call. I'll be listening to that one for sure. Cool. Shall we move on to
Yeah,
this
yeah,
one? Yeah.
of course. Let's do that. So,
What are we on now? So there we go. Okay, yes, you can find me on X. Obviously, Sean Trades. I post very regularly, actually, at the moment, around my kind of eToro swing trading portfolio. It's a public portfolio that I've kind of just released in June, actually. So go ahead and head over there and check that out, of course. YouTube, I've been a bit quiet, but I'm planning to get into it a little bit more, a few more live streams, I think, around the portfolios. I'm starting to do an FTMO funded challenge or funding challenge. So I'm not too sure if I'm going to post that just yet. I'm kind of getting used to it. So we'll see what happens there. So yeah, well, I'm not getting wrong. Sorry about that. And obviously my Substack as well, which I have actually started up again. The old eToro kind of written form, the ideas around the trades, etc., etc. I'm not going to bore you with that, but yeah, you can get me there, and we'll move on to Kay's charts.
awesome. Definitely follow Sean for his thoughts if you're into trading. So the first one that I have is Intel. We generally cover Intel on our channel many times, and the reason is, you can see that currently the stock, we had a solid gap down, I would say around the third week of May or so, and it has found some kind of a support level at around the $29 level where a lot of buying in came in. The stock currently is down 17% from the 200-day SMA, which kind of gives you a little bit more upswing if it happens at this point in time. Now, with Intel, generally what is happening, it's also a very news driven stock these days, specifically on the chip side. Now, with all the other chip companies, moving forward with AMD going higher, Nvidia with Broadcom going higher, we could see this uptrend playing out. So, uh, the last time that we covered on this one, I had a put option open at $30. We did close that worthless, so that trade went in our way. And the current trade that I'm thinking that could work out in this way, if you are into selling options, then a $30 level would be the right would be the ideal amount, and hoping for that gap fill. And if it can continue in an uptrend, you can have an upside of a quick 17% or so, hitting the 200-day SMA. Now, I don't expect that to happen anytime soon. And let me see if when is Intel reporting earning, and that is going to be your catalyst going into. So that's 725. So you have Intel, you have SoFi, you have Tesla, all these reporting earnings in the next 2 weeks or so. So we could see further upswing or strength going into the earnings, and then we'll see how that plays out. What are your thoughts, Sean, on this one?
Yeah, I like the setup actually. I mean, it's interesting to see that how the stock has basically been traveling sideways, but the RSI has been slowly increasing, which doesn't quite match up, I don't think. But I mean, it shows that the interest is there. But I like the move, and with that, I think it's a bit more of a kind of, dare I say it, a safer trade because the stock doesn't move as much. It's not as volatile as like a Tesla or an Nvidia. So you can kind of have your levels set slightly less risky, I suppose is probably the right way to say it. So yeah, I've written this one down actually because I like the move back up to the 200 moving average. It's a kind of standard trade. If you're going to break out of a particular zone and then move towards a major moving average, I think that's fair. But whether they do that before earnings or not is going to be interesting, or after earnings. So I put it on my watch list for those reasons, but nothing immediately jumps off the page in terms of a trade, at least.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think if you are into the chip business or in the
Mm.
chip investing, um, you can't sleep on Intel, because it's, first of all, it does give you a lot to offer. And now it might not be Nvidia, but it's not going to go away. So we could take advantage of the weakness, especially at these levels. Yeah, so that was one trade that could play out in the short term to midterm. And let's move on to the next one. I have a similar trade on Lululemon. Now, this stock is slightly more expensive. It's a $300 stock. So if you are buying options or selling options, this would be slightly more expensive compared to a $30 stock. But the reason I brought this up as well is because this stock is down 26% from its 200-day moving average. We have two gap fills actually. We The first gap fill is at the top, which is between the 420 and 450 level, and the previous gap and the next gap fill was between the two, this you see this around the 309 300 level, which was filled. So now we are noticing, or we are trying to see, in the last few trading days, we are seeing that there is a support that is being formed around the 290 to 300 level. And once we see that, we are seeing a similar trend in Nike. Nike got down, even though they reported good earnings. The future outlook is weak, at least for the next two couple quarters. Lululemon had a similar trend as well. But as you start to get into the fall season and you start to get into the holiday season, generally these kind of retailer stocks, they start to pick back up. Now the goal is that you could, if the stock goes back up to the 200-day moving average, you're looking at about 26% increase. Now this could be a short to mid-term trade as well. Or if you are a long-term investor, then of course this could be a good buying opportunity to for your long-term portfolio.
So I think here for me, I mean, alongside your points around obviously the popularity of buying this stuff through summers coming back in play, but from a technical point of view, I'd look to look to draw a line from kind of this point all the way down from here. So basically, a trend line break is what I'd be looking at,
Mhm.
and the target points I have is obviously the top of the trend line break, which should probably be around here, 390-ish. So just below the 200 moving average, as you mentioned. But also you've got to have that kind of risk in play as well. So you've got to have that trend line probably drawn from around about here, 293, to kind of where the stock is trading now. Thereabouts, of course. I'd have to jump into the charts and do that myself, and then have the stop loss kind of somewhere down maybe 280-ish.
Yeah,
So there's definitely a trade to be had there, but I'd have to wait for a break either on the upside or
or the
the
downside. Yeah,
downside.
yeah.
Yeah, so obviously you can play stocks both ways, and although I am typically more of a positive, bull
You're a
trader,
breakout trader. Yeah, exactly.
yeah, exactly. But I don't always look at the short side, and that's probably the downside to my trading. But I've taken a few shorts, of course, in my time. But yeah, we'll grow at different ranges. But this is a good stock. I've definitely written this one down as well. I'm looking forward to seeing how this plays out because it's getting quite tight, isn't it?
It
In
is.
that
It
kind
is.
of zone.
And if you notice that from the almost like mid June, 22nd June onwards,
Mm.
we have started to form this support level. So as long as we get this support level, and once we draw the trend line and we can see a breakout from there. Lululemon is a stock that moves fast. It can fall down fast, but it also moves fast. I mean, there have been many times that I've missed this stock, especially in the run. Um, Generally, the retail traders are slow right now in this season, but the season will change as we get into the colder months and the holiday season. That's when these stocks really pull back up. So I'm looking for an upside, at least to the 200-day moving average at some point in time in the midterm, and that's the trade that I'm looking to get into.
Awesome, awesome, good pick. So where can we find you?
Well, you can find me on the X as well. It's InvestK. I do post regularly there as well. I do have a YouTube channel where we focus on both investing, trading, and option selling. So a lot of interesting content. And then I do write on Substack as well, and that's Invest for Tomorrow for you. So definitely check it out. And with that, let's get into our audience requests. So the first one that we have on
Bear
is,
with me. I've just got to sort this, get
yeah.
the charts up ready to go. But yeah, you start writing them down and we will get to them. Don't forget to put them in the comments
So
so
the
we can
first
track
one,
them.
whenever you're ready, I will tell you.
Right, I
The
think we're
first one is
ready.
PGY. It's Pagaya Technologies.
PGY.
PGY, yes. And since this is my first time, let's see what they do. So it's a product-focused technology company, deploys data science and proprietary AI-powered technology for financial institutions and investors in the U.S., Israel, Cayman Islands. Okay, all right. So it's basically a SaaS company. Okay, understood.
A bit of a bear flag kind of
This
forming here. So we've got this one obviously going down. My trend lines are really extended at the moment, so I do apologise for that. But yeah, you can kind of just loosely see their possible bear flag obviously drop down kind of mid parts of March, maybe just early parts of March. And then obviously forming this uptrend. We've got a little bit of resistance here at the top of the trend line. We could probably actually just turn that like that slightly. Top of the trend line, and obviously the 200 moving average as well. Can you see that okay? Should I zoom in? I might zoom in a
No, I
bit.
think it's pretty good. Yeah, we can see that. Yep.
So yeah, lots of resistance here. Probably two key bits of resistance as well. I mean, the 200 is typically quite a hard level to break, whether it's upwards or downwards. In my opinion, would you agree with that, Kay?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it just gives you a very good long-term view on this one, on the stock. So that would definitely act as a resistance because we have seen the stock. It was around the starting of like February of 2024. It did break through the 200-day moving average, but couldn't sustain that. We see a similar trend. It acted as a resistance for a good many touch points, especially in the fourth quarter of 2023 as well.
I'm just going to write this one down so I can put it on my list for a short because I quite like that. I mean, you can see on the screen that's 10% short potential. I mean, it's rough, of course. It's not going to exactly play out like that, but the idea is there. Thank you very much. Whoever brought that one up, it's a good pick, I think.
It's a good pick, and you will be surprised that the stock ran up to $414 back
Oh,
in
no way.
2022. Yeah.
Incredible. On the other hand, though, I mean, I'm looking at the short, but I should also have my mind on potential upsides. So let's go ahead and get out the path. If we do break this in quite a spectacular fashion, looking probably, I'm not too sure what the resistance would be, but we'll just say there. But if we come down and retest that, that would be an interesting entry point as well for a trade. And obviously, again, we'd have to determine the target price in a different way, probably somewhere near these highs. Would you agree there?
I agree, and I think before getting into the trade, you would want to make the confirmation that they do have a clean break from the 200-day moving average,
Exactly. Yeah.
because when they do that, they will also do the gap fill, which currently is in progress.
Oh yeah, of course. Oh, that's another one. So yeah, we all like confluence, don't we, on this channel? And that's another point of confluence. It's a bit looser, but it's probably about 30, 40 cents in that. So anywhere around there would be interesting to into trades. Awesome.
Cool.
Should we move on to the next one?
Yeah, the next one is S as a Sam, T as in Tom, STEM, STEM. Let me see.
I've not heard
We're
of this
getting
one
some
before.
interesting stocks. I've never heard of these before.
Oh, this one's been beaten up. It's actually $1.13.
Ooh, penny stock.
Penny stock. Any idea what they do?
Okay, yeah, I'll tell you what they do. They are digitally connected. Let's see, they are in the energy storage network provider worldwide. The company offers energy storage hardware sourced from original equipment manufacturers, OEMs, edge hardware to aid in collection of site data and real-time operations and control. This stock, you will be surprised, has a short interest of 21%.
Oh, that doesn't surprise me actually. To be fair, I mean, judging by where the stock's heading. It's hard to draw lines on this one because you've got the two touch points here, but nothing really in the last kind of 4 months. So it's hard to kind of judge a wedge. But obviously, you do have the moving averages, which it is kind of following. Um,
I think what how I'm looking at this chart right now is your 20-day moving average is a resistance at this stock,
Mm.
and it is making lower highs. So the trend is in your favor. If you get into this trade, you may see continue, unless we see a clean breakout above the 20-day moving average and it sustains there. I don't see why you would want to get into this trade.
No, it's a tricky one. It's yeah, it doesn't look pretty, does it? Not at all. The only thing I would say is possible RSI divergence, but I'm not too sure. I don't really like RSI divergences in such lower value stocks. I know it sounds silly, but it's just not what I look for. So you've got slightly higher RSI there, but obviously the stock going the other way, so there's a possible divergence. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't have enough knowledge or information about the stock from an investing standpoint, but from a trading standpoint, this doesn't look a very good setup yet for
No,
trading.
no, we need to wait for more on this one, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
What are
Okay,
we on next?
so next up is IWM. That's
Ah,
a
yes.
favorite one.
This one, I mean, you can kind of see already, it's just trading sideways. I was looking at this the other day. I did have it drawn here, but I don't have it drawn in anymore. But a possible inversion head and shoulders. So let me draw that out.
So while you're doing that, let me also look at the put to call ratio on IWM. So going into next week, our put to call ratio is 0.76, so a little bit bullish, but then it gets very bearish moving forward from the following week. It's like above one. Yeah.
Interesting. So you've got the neckline there. Obviously, this is the shoulder one, shoulder two. You've got the head there. The neckline, we're looking at about 209 thereabouts. And obviously, breaking above that, come back down and retesting it. I probably should have continued the path. Let's just do this instead. Breaking above that, come back down, retesting it, and then making a move higher, maybe to 220 ish. Again, obviously, we can't be sure because it hasn't reached those levels before, but actually, it might have done. This one tends to chop around over the years. Oh, yeah, here we go. So we've got a bit of resistance up here. Let me just dive inside a little bit more. I'm a bit chaotic when it comes to charts, but hopefully you're following, Kay. Hopefully.
No, I'm following. I'm
Yeah.
following.
So we've got a level here, roughly. You could probably bring that a little bit higher, but I like to keep my. I mean, you can see resistance, and I like to bring it down a little bit. I don't know if you do that too, but yeah, I like to bring it down slightly. So looking at kind of 224 for IWM, if we can get out of this 209 range that we're in now.
Yeah, I think 211 where they hit the highest recently. That was what, back in end of March.
Yeah,
That would be, of course, your big resistance level. But I think at this point in time, if S&P 500 is supposed to hit 6,000 prediction by end of the year, I don't see how IWM will not play a role. But from a short term standpoint, I think this is a good. If you sell options or you do wheel strategy, I think this could be a good stock because it is pretty much barcoding at these levels. And I mean, we could look at 200 as a psychological level, and you can sell options either on a daily basis or on a weekly basis on the index fund. So that's an option you can use.
mm,
I like stocks that are in barcode, and especially when you have indexes. So this is a prime candidate for a wheel strategy.
awesome. That's good to know.
Cool. All right, we got a stock called SPHR. While you pull that
Sphere
up,
Entertainment.
okay.
Is that the Las Vegas one?
I don't know. Let's see. Never heard of it. It is an entertainment business. It produces, presents, or hosts various live entertainment events, including concerts, family shows, and special events. Uh,
Stick it in the comments if it is the. I think it's El Yashiv Pinch. Put the comment in for STEM if it's related to the Sphere in Las Vegas. I assume it probably would be. It makes sense, right?
and listen, this has a short interest of 37%. Sorry,
Oh,
31%. It's even more than the stock we just talked about, which was STEM. Yeah.
so my immediate thoughts with that then, if there's a short percentage, is quite high, is this resistance here. We've got the trend line and the 200 moving average and the kind of 50 moving average kind of all kind of tied into one spot. If we do break out of that, you've also got this level here, actually, thinking about it, of 38.39-ish.
Yep.
I'll zoom in a touch so you can kind of see a bit better. Two resistance points, almost three, but we've got that kind of all coming together roughly in this kind of zone. So if we can get above that, with the short interest, you may not see a retest. So that'd be interesting. Because obviously, with the short interest, if you break out of a particular zone, then it kind of goes, doesn't really retest.
Yeah, it's basically on the short covering. If this stock they start to cover shorts, you will see the stock, going back to those levels of $50. I mean, definitely looks exciting. Um, I've really taken note of this stock particularly.
Exactly right. Yeah, so have I. Thank you very much. Who came up with that one? Elashiv. Thank you very much.
Next one is hymns.
That's why I like doing this, Kay. I think you're on the same boat. If we, get
100%.
some ticker recommendations, we're all here to make money, aren't we? So
Yeah, like today, three out of four stocks we talked about so far, I didn't even know them.
yeah, exactly. Hymns. Now this one I've covered a few times actually. I think in the past for this one, their revenue and the growth is insane. The subscription growth, the product's obviously very very good in terms of customer satisfaction, which is always good, very important for a business. But in terms of the chart, it looks a bit kind of in no man's land at the moment. Not too sure why I got that there. A bit of no man's land. It's kind of in between the 20 and the 50 on the daily. We'll jump into the weekly, see if it looks a bit better because it might be coming around the 20. No, it's still quite far away. So my thoughts around this one would be looking for it to come back down to these sort of levels, maybe around 1680, shall we say, in the coming weeks. Obviously, this is the weekly chart, so I'm looking for that to kind of come down a little bit. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but that's where I would like it to go, if that makes sense. So if it comes down to 1680, I'd be interested. That's my thoughts.
My thoughts on this one is that the volume shelf is, there's a lot of volume, or I would say similar amount of volume between 1548 going all the way to about 19, and then the volume shelf increases at the level of about 1936 to about, let's say, 1995. So this range that is currently is in 1940 to 2182 is, again, it's probably barcoding at these levels. You could sell options if you like this stock for the long term. Wheel strategy would definitely be pretty good, and the implied volatility is pretty high, 68%. So you are getting good premiums, and there's a lot of open interest for 19 July contract at $20. It's 6,700 open interest. So that could be a good entry point for options trade if you're selling options.
Yeah. Plenty to look for him, I think. One for the watch list, probably not an immediate trade, but yeah,
Yeah.
definitely one for the watch list. Thank
Yeah.
you for the 2,000 people that have tuned into this. We really, really appreciate it. It wouldn't be possible without Wolf, would it? Okay, so
Absolutely.
thank you massively to Wolf. He's a great guy for the community, and yeah,
Next
thank
one
you so
is,
much.
let's move on. Next one is Mobile
Yeah.
Eye. It's MBLY.
Oh, big rejection off the 200 moving average. This is the daily chart that we're on now. Bit of higher lows here though, which is good to see. As you can tell, I probably just look straight for the technicals, where you go more into the seeking alpha side of things, don't you? But
Yeah.
that's what we're here for. So, look, here we go. A big gap.
Hmm.
Let's put that there.
Short interest is 20% on this one.
Lots of short interest in the stocks that people are picking today, isn't there?
Today, yeah, especially. Exactly. And
Got
look
that
at this
there.
big gap down that we had, all the way from 39 going down to $10 dip.
It's
And
not
now,
earnings, because earnings is here. So it must be something different.
so earning is coming up on 725. So in 2 weeks, we have a lot of downgrades on this stock. And They did miss their EPS last earning, which was 425. And let's see what are the ratings on this one. They have a buy rating from Wall Street for now, and the average price or price target is $37, and it's trading at 27 right now.
Interesting. This is
Mhm.
a little bit depressed after the big move down. My immediate thoughts on the chart, as you can see, a little bit of struggling to get through the 20 and the 50 moving average here, looking like it might actually come back down to the bottom of this wedge. Whether we break the wedge on the downside, perhaps, judging by where the stock is kind of moving um, in the last few months, it could potentially continue. But you said the average price target was around 37, which is all the way up
37.
here.
Yep.
Yeah, that's all the way up here. So that's quite a way off. Obviously, price targets are not always meant to be aligned, but um, it's yeah, it's not one I'm going to be adding to my watch list, unfortunately. But thank you for bringing it up. High bar gains, we obviously really appreciate it. But I don't know. Are you adding this to your watch list, Kay?
No, I'm not. But this stock, similar to the two stocks I talked about, Intel and Lululemon, this is also down about 15%, give or take, from the 200-day moving average. So, if you like to play, if this is your long-term position, or you want to have a short to mid-term trade option, this is something that you can get into. However, keep in mind the it has to have a clean break and stay above the 20 and 50-day moving average that we currently are seeing here.
Exactly, exactly. No, interesting. We'll see how this one plays out. I might add it to my watch list actually. Yeah, I'm going to do it. I'm going to put it down.
So we did get a response on the SPHR. So SPHR is indeed Las Vegas related. Thank you very much. My time went definitely not the last. You deserve much more. Thank you. I appreciate that. Unfortunately, I'm not able to read Hebrew, so I cannot say your name. But thank you so much.
No, we appreciate it. Yeah, definitely.
The next request is Microsoft.
Cool. Should we make this the last one, or should we do one more after this one?
I think we have one more.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll cover one after Microsoft. We have one more, and then we can pretty much wrap up.
Yeah, awesome. We'll do this one and one more. Microsoft. I mean, look at that. I mean, it's kind of the spy in a miniature version, isn't it? I mean, that
Yeah,
makes sense.
exactly.
So it looks like I've had this line drawn here on here already. At the what level was that? 427. It seems to have just kind of blown straight through it, moved up nicely. I don't really have much else to say on this chart. I mean, it's the trend is your friend, of course. Maybe you could draw a trend line perhaps here. Probably straight through those candles in the middle here. Um, yeah, it's very similar to the SPY. I mean, the trend is your friend. Dollar cost averaging is the one if you're looking for this a long term. If you're looking for this for the short term, it's one of those that you stay away from. Yeah, what are your thoughts here, Kay?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head. If I am looking to trade short term, I would wait for a pullback around the 450 level where the volume shelf is the highest. But if it's just for investing, I guess just keep dollar cost averaging here. I mean, when it comes to Mag 7, I really think that it's just best to dollar cost average from an investing standpoint. No
Mm,
point in trying to time the entry or exit. But from a trading standpoint, of course, I would wait for a pullback around the 450 because that's where the most of the volume is. And I can also let's take a look at the put to call ratio on this one. So we do have for 719. If you are into options trade on 719, we have 0.65 as the put to call ratio, which is highly bullish. We have almost 200,000 call open interest versus only 129,000 put open interest. So you can play that if you want. You can sell options around that level for that expiration date. That could be
oh,
an idea.
interesting. Yeah,
Cool.
that's good knowledge for the viewers. Let's head over to the last one, shall we? Let's
Yeah, last one
what
is
do we got?
MMYT.
MMYC. Another one I've not heard of,
Oh, it's Make
which is
My
good.
Trip. I Isn't this a Chinese stock?
I've never heard of it. I must admit.
So
It's
let's
gone up
see.
nicely though, hasn't it? Ooh. Let's jump out to the weekly. See what we've got. Wow.
Oh no, this is an Indian company. So they basically are travel. They sell travel products and services in India, United States, Southeast Asia. Okay. So, what are your thoughts on this one?
Well, at the moment, I'm just drawing lines from bottom left to top right. So it's the stock's been performing very, very well. That's for sure. I mean, it was literally what month are we in now? I mean, it's 2024. Since last year, I mean, it's gone up from 28 to 85 ish.
Yeah, this year to
What a
date, the
move!
stock is up almost 83%, and in last 1 year, it's up 221%.
Whew. The one thing I would like to see though is just if it was to go up, a bit higher, perhaps this 90 level seems a bit more of a psychological level. So I'll get a bit more detail on this so people can see. Yeah, this $90 level, maybe slightly lower actually, to be honest with you. Maybe somewhere like here, you can see a bit of a rejection, bit of a lower high. So perhaps it's kind of coming back down to this kind of this trend line that I've drawn here on the screen. Yeah, I'd be looking for it to kind of break 90, come back down, retest it, and make another leg higher. I mean, why not? It's been doing that for the last year. So on the other side of that, I would be looking for perhaps a break of the trend line. So if we were to come down to the 20, the 50, and this trend line, if we were to break that, I'd be looking for it to come down to this next major trend line, which is I set that on the weekly.
Mhm.
And then obviously you've got the 200 moving average coming up below that. So this kind of area 63. With this though, it's a bit tricky. So if we were to break that, perhaps come back down to here, 18% drop, and it's still kind of this is the next nearest low. I'm losing my words already. Okay,
Mhm.
61. Yeah, I mean the setups are there. It's just waiting for it to come, waiting to to happen. Basically, just being patient, sitting on your hands with these types of trades. Don't get into them too early, and obviously manage the risk throughout the trade is what my advice would be there. Any final thoughts on this stock? Okay.
Well, I think I have the similar thoughts as you. I mean, if you're looking to trade this stock, this is definitely not the level to start a position, and you have to wait for a trend to happen. Right now, it's an uptrend, and the volume is you don't have much volume shelf at those levels, right? Most of the volume shelf
No,
build is around the 74, going all the way down to 64 to 74 is most of the volume that is there. So unless um, you get an opportunity at this point in time, I would just put it in the watch list and track how it goes, because the stock is already up almost 83% for the year. So can it go higher? Most likely, but you don't want to be in a position where your risk to reward ratio, you have to take that into account.
exactly. It's very important you do that as a trader.
Cool. By the way,
Um,
we got a lot of comments, so we really appreciate all the comments. Urban Warriors, my thoughts on Mobilize on my page. I'm definitely bullish on it. We'll definitely check that out. Um, and yeah, thank you, Avi. Thank you, Urban Warrior. We're glad to see those comments. And yeah, keep sending those requests out. We will be back next week as well, and we'll cover these requests. We really enjoy doing this.
yeah, I mean, it's important to say that we're going to go on a bit of a run now. We're going to do this every Sunday, kind of 6 p.m. UK time. I think is that 2
That's
p.m.
1
your
p.m.
time?
East Coast
1
time.
p.m.
Yes. Yeah.
1 p.m. Eastern Coast. So yeah, do tune in every week. We love doing it. Of course, we're traders. We like looking at charts, and if we can help out anyone in any way possible. But in terms of perspectives, not literally getting into trades and taking positions, etc. But our perspectives might just activate something in your brain. Um, you know, something
Yeah,
interesting, perhaps. Yeah.
and I want to thank both Sean and Wolf for getting this live done here. So appreciate Wolf. Thank you so much. Definitely, follow Wolf on the channel, and make sure you follow Sean and I on Twitter as well, or X, and YouTube channels as well.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll wrap it up there then. Enjoy your weeks, everyone, and we'll see you next week.
Awesome, folks.